So it's a special list for me to be able to introduce Rabbi Reingold, who I know for many, many years, over 20 years, 25 years maybe.
25 years.
25 years. That really has been a most for me for many years. I'm Milos Torah and Asmada and many other things, the Messiahs of Torah, and really for all those who, it seems like I'm not the only person who knows him because he's been talking to people all night tonight, but for all those who I will have the opportunity over Shabbos to get to know him, it's a big schos, take advantage of the opportunity, Bezos Hashem. And so to have him here in our Kehillah, the Shabbos is very special schos for me, for my wife, my family, and I'm confident that tonight and throughout the Shir of Shabbos will be in this tremendous amount, and it's a big schos. So I would like to call on Reingold to be able to distribute Torah tonight.
I'd like to thank Rabbi Leisure and Dr. Eidborn, who's a close Talmud, for the opportunity to share the Torah with you. Dr. Shem, it's beautiful. I was here once before in the Kollel, spoke to the lights almost 2 years ago, and I was very inspired and installed from the Kollel that point in time. Even more so now, looking at the Kehillah coming together, it's beautiful to see. Good? Better. Okay. I'm going to apologize in front. I have a little bit of a cold, so this is some of the way I need to cough, etc. I'll apologize for it. So I had a conversation. An individual came to me, person not from yet. I was working with him a little bit, having conversations from Kite, and he's a person with a tremendous amount of Ehrlichkeit and drive, etc. And he says he doesn't understand why we need Torah. A person has an innate understanding of what's right and what's wrong. You follow your heart, you follow your mind, you follow what's right and what's wrong. You're going to do a lot of the right things which are right. So what do you need Torah for? That was the question that he asked me. So I told him that the Ramchal asked this question in a different way, almost a different way. The Ramchal says, I don't understand what it means that you learn and you don't understand something. So the Russian gave the mind the kli to be Makabel Torah. So the Russian gave this kli as the vehicle to be Makabel Torah. The Russian makes the kli perfect. The Russian makes the kli that it works. So why does it mean you learn something you don't understand it? How can the kli not work? That was the Ramchal's question. So Ramchal answers it from a Kabbalistic viewpoint, which I'm not going to get involved in right now. But he was already about the good point. That the Russian wants us to learn Torah, and he wants us to understand Torah. And he wants the Torah to go in. And he gave us the vehicle of the mind to do that. So the logical thing should be that the mind should work. And Torah should go in. So you ask me, why does the concept of Torah make a lot of sense to you? Of course they make a lot of sense to you. How can that not make sense to you? The Russian made your mind. It's a food to Torah. It's not that you don't need Torah. It's the vehicle to now be Makabel, the theory of Torah. Of course your mind is attuned to that. So with that, the Gemara is a fascinating thing. You find sometimes in Shas, the Gemara wants to bring a source of something. The Gemara says, you might say a crow, you might say a swara. It's a swara, it's a pasuk. The 3 times in Shas, the Gemara uses the phrase, crow lomali, swara. Who needs a pasuk? It's a swara. Swara is so compelling, the human mind is so compelling that it understands right or wrong. I don't need a pasuk for it. The Gemara tries being a pasuk. The Gemara says, why are you wasting our time with a pasuk? Swara. One of those places is Peshos and Peshitter. One of them is Hawetz Mechaver Labarak. So we know there's a Kollel B'Shas, person who has possession, he has a excuse to keeping the item, somebody's to pay it for it, somebody wants to take it from him, he has to prove. The burden of proof is on the person who's making the claim, not the person who has the money. It's a compelling story. So Rabbi says, but why did the Russian make it like that? Why is it that I'm missing the Torah overnight? Why is possession significant? The chasim aren't really yours. So sitting in your backyard, so somebody else's backyard. What's the point that there's a concept of it because it's sitting in your backyard? Different. It's so logical. You're never possible. You know for sure that you're right. Why? He says there must be the Russian wants possession. He wants things that belong to him. Then he says, why? Why do you want things that belong to him? Why is it important we should own things? Why is communism right? Everything belongs to everybody. Everybody shares it. The state's job, theoretically, is to oversee that there's a fair share of the resources of whoever needs it. Nothing belongs to anybody. Everybody gets their what they need. Everybody gives what they can. It makes a lot of sense. What's wrong with that? So Eliyahu says, "Adam chesed yibon." Russia created a world of chesed. If you don't owe something, you can't give it away. The Russia wants a world where we can be meitivim. Made that therefore we have a chibur to our nechasim. Why do we have a chibur to our nechasim? Because then we give it away and feel like it's a little bit. It's not my, there's me and there's the nechasim. I have to tell you, in the world of fundraising, where Gledger is much more accomplished than I am. I still have to fundraise my Kollel budget also. There's certain gevirim which are much more. The guys who spend the money easily on everything, they also give it stuff pretty easily also. Because they're not attached to their money, so they give it away easily. Then there's the guys who are attached to the money. It's not hard to get, and they're careful how they spend, they're also careful how they give stuff. But the point is, it should hurt. It should be you're giving part of yourself away, you're connected to it. The guy says, I know it's not Bourbon, it's Chanukah's, Chanukah and Bourbon together. The guy says in spiritual appears from the Megillah. So Haman makes this decree that we're going to wipe out all the Jews in the world. One day, every God's client soul is destroyed, and not only that, Ushlalom Lovois. And all of their property is going to be taken by the guy. So he says, it sounds like most of the dirty Jew who cares about the money more than his life. We annihilated all the place, and not only that, the money also. Like really? Like who cares about the money? You're Zaydi, you're Bubba, you're Altazay, you're Altano, your cousin, everybody's wiped out. And not only that, Jews, you should know, we're going to wipe out and take your money also. The Bible says there's three parts to the human being. There's the goof, there's the neshama, the nefesh, and there's the nechas. It's part of who you are. But why is it? Everyone says, well, why does Russia make it like that? Because this, when you give it, you're a native. It's a world of chesed. And he said, the Rebbe said, communism took away the craft of chesed. Communism will fail because own chesed yibon. And they're going to take away the start of the world of chesed. When chesed yibon, they're going to fail. This is Rebbe's prediction in the 1930s. It cannot last. It says they're going to create a nation of Neutzlim, not Neutzlim. Because they have nothing to give, but they're going to become takers. And then they saw that people, because they never had, they constantly worry about how to get for themselves. And this is the challenge which they had in the generation. So why am I telling you this? It's Chanukah, right? What is the Chanukah? Yaakov has a conversation with Esau. He sent this matana to Esau. He wants to give him this large amount of animals, etc. And Esau says, my brother, keep what you have. Yesh li ma. Yaakov says back, no, I yesh li ko, and please, yesh li ma ko. So what's this conversation with yesh li ra? Esau says, I have a lot. And Yaakov says, I have everything. So what does yesh li ra mean? So please understand the yesh li ra. Yesh li ra could mean, I have a lot, not as much as I need. Esau said, I always want more. I have a lot. But he's saying, I have a lot. I don't need from you. So clearly, that Yeshua doesn't mean I have a lot. So Rashi says, I have more than I need. Yaakov says that Yeshua Ko. I have exactly what I need. Now, which one sounds stronger? Yaakov was mechuber to his nechasim. Whatever I have, that's exactly what I need. I don't have anything extra. And he says, no, Baruch Hashem, we're doing good. I have a lot to give. I can afford to give. So that's all the question. Let's go back to the Pachim Ketana. The Yisosha says the Pach Shemen was found, the Pachim Ketana that Yaakov went backward, that was the Pach Shemen. Now, it doesn't mean the physical Pach Shemen. Obviously, the Pach Ketana word wasn't the Pach Shemen, but what's the excuse that the Pach Ketana Yaakov went back for? What's the excuse that creates the Pach Shemen? So Chazal say on that tzaddikim, that Ramad is called they care about their money more than their body. So let's explain what that means. I had Maisa back in the 80s. So I had a chaver. Those days it was not in Bechlal to go to often go to a wife for as you went already. You're not going to a wife for. I had a chaver getting married in New York, and I wasn't up to the shop in New York. His wife was in Detroit. I'll go to the wife for. Shabbos afternoon, I'm walking with the chassid, and one of the Rebbeim of the yeshiva there, Rabbi's yeshiva, which is Rabbi's yeshiva, which is the welcome, something over Rabbi Hashem, met me. He suddenly must be there's a shomer because I wanted somebody to be here. And it wasn't must have gone off for it. Didn't going for Rosh that nowadays it's like normal or somewhat normal. But those days nobody did it. So he stood up there as a shomer. He said, "Oh, you here to be shomer by the chassid?" So he said, "Actually not." Now he understood that I was like being mezalzel and the need for a shomer for a chassid. So he gave me mussar. Now the truth is the reason why I said that was just because it tells my hakbara was the shomer of the chassid was bad the chassid, not from the Shabbos of the earth. He told me the following mice. This is his name is Rabbi Bertromowitz. Rabbi Bertromowitz told me this mice he heard from Rabbi Cox. So Rabbi Cox over the following mice. She was there when it happened. There was a bocher in the mirror. Getting married. And the day of the chasna, he decided he wants to go. He started to he wants to go out into the forest a little bit. He was private on the day of the chasna. It's a tremendously powerful, important day. So he wants to go out into the forest and he was private. He went by himself without any shmir. Came time for the chuppah, and there's no bocher, no chasna. So they said, search pretty out to find, we'll go find the bocher, find the chasna. So it didn't take too long to figure that he wasn't in the city of Mir. The city of Mir, you can look at it now with the Google Maps. You can look at the city of the Mir. It's about 4 blocks by 4 blocks. So he wasn't in the city of Mir. So where was he? So they sent out walking all over, out around it, into the forest around the city to find him. Eventually they find him. Where is he? He's in a well, so holding on to the side of the well for dear life. He says he's been there for a few hours. He says, "What are you doing in the well?" He says, "I have no idea. I was sitting down somewhere. Next thing I know, I'm falling down the well." This is the mice. So they came back and I told Rabbi Yerucham this mice. Rabbi Yerucham said, quote in Yiddish, he says, "Menschen meinen, not the adult, stecken and shaken, zinit to say." People think you live in a world of sticks and stones. If it's physical, it's true. If it's not physical, it's not true. Because Al said there's something called shade. And shadim are jealous of the sun. And they want to hurt a chassan. And the mokum where the shadim live, these demons live, is in the wild, desolate places like forests. And you don't go on a day of fast all by yourself into a forest. You're out of your mind. What are you doing? So Rabbi Yerucham understood what happened was that these shadim, which is what we're talking about, threw the person down into the well. And that's the mice. Okay, I heard this mice of Rabbi Box. Now I think Eshruchi Makdim, Rabbi Box was a bona fide Litvak. The Muslim of Swedish mice just didn't exist for him. I've tried it for time. You try to get a mice out of Rabbi Box about Rabbi Yerucham, you didn't get anything. You just got we can go like Torah. That was like the Muslim, yeah. My brother-in-law his father-in-law learned by the Chavetz Chaim. The same. Rabbi Crow came down to Baltimore to interview him about Chavetz Chaim. He has a page and a half of the book. Like, You want to talk about burning? We go right there. Like, that was like, mices weren't neglected by leadership. They didn't absorb them, And he said this mice. The same Chazal says that Sheidim are Mekana and Talmud Chacham. And Talmud Chacham is also to go out and Yekidi B'Layla. Shinako Avinu goes across the river by himself. He's putting himself into Mokum Sakana. He is endangering his life. For what? For Pachim Khan, they made a Kliferis. Because I'll take Kliferis was the most cheapest thing that they had. So he's going back into the heart of the middle of the night. Because he lost a quarter. And that's what Yaakov did. What's he doing? So that doesn't make any sense. How do you have the right to do that? Talmud was also was his alive. And he is this Yaakov the Christian said Talmud Chacham is going by himself at nighttime. And Takas Arshalesim comes and fights with him. It's Baruch Hashem, he was Mithliah. You don't ask for such a Messiah. Apparently, Pachim Katan, the smallest item, is given to you as a kli to serve the Kodesh Baruch Hu. This is part of who I am and what I'm supposed to be. This is part of why I was given this thing. I have a job. I have a job to use it for Kodesh Hashem. I'm willing to use it for that job. Now, we don't make to this. Our society has so much abundance that's not shy. I remember I had this order once. We're not going to have this conversation. You get packages, you get packages on Amazon, there's boxes, and there's boxes. Those cardboard boxes are really worth all the money. I mean, they're good boxes. How do you throw them out? You recycle them. You recycle them. That's very nice. But if you hold on to all of your Amazon boxes, you're all of your, you're going to live. You become a hoarder, it's like Abraham J. Tversky has a story about a fellow who came to a psychiatrist. He's a psychologist, and he says, what can I do for you? He says, I don't know. So why did you come? He said, my family said I had to come. Okay, so why did your family say I had to come? He said, I don't know. What did they say? They said, I'm crazy. He said, okay, why do you think you're crazy? He says, because I like pancakes. He says, you like pancakes? What's wrong with liking pancakes? I also like pancakes. He says, really? You have to visit me. I have thousands stored in the attic. Right? That's what we are. Going to be our boxes, we can't do it. So the ones that said in the Bardic was that the modern pharmacy destroyed the Bardic. Part of the Bardic is Bishmak, because they would go to a place, it wouldn't make any sense. They'd go to the pharmacy and ask for nails. Nowadays you go to the pharmacy, you can ask for nails. How can they have nails? That was always the Bardic. So this is always, Amazon boxes, always the whole way. But the Russia gave us something. Yeah, but didn't look at elements as something which is worthless or unimportant. It's very important. It's a keli from Baruch Hashem. Ad Kidei Kaf is Mercy Nefesh. Beis Hamikdash. We picture Beis Hamikdash. Maybe I can't say we, but I know I'm going to have a culture shock when I go to Beis Hamikdash. Baruch Hashem. For any reason. I've been, part of learning halakha, I spend time going to shlachtas. There's a lot of blood. And there's a lot of guts. There's a lot of, the insides of the animals, etc. It's not very inspiring. Right? It's not. The Gemara says himself, with the county member base understanding, up to their ankles in blood. We're going to walk in this English, and we're going to see something which is extraordinarily physical. And it's going to be Avodas Hashem. It's going to be Kedusha. We're not used to that. Our Musik of Kedusha, Avodas Hashem, is Torah and Tefillah. That's our Musik of Avodas Hashem. You daven. The Rambam says at one point after Mashiach's going to come, at some point the governments will be bottled. The Medrash says the Torahs will be bottled, except for Korban Torah, but all the Torahs will be bottled. And the Avodas Hashem will be through Tefillah, just contemplating Kodesh Baruch Hu, davening, etc. Okay? Whatever the Rambam's, the Korahs, etc. But the Kipshut Doshov, the Rambam himself says, Rambam Murder, Rambam Yad says, Mashiach the Mashiach, when he reestablishes the Lord in the Beis Hamikdash. It's very physical. We're not used to thinking of physicalities of Avodas Hashem. The Yavana came along and they said, you want to believe in philosophy, you want to philosophize, you want to think that there's a higher purpose to man, that man is the great intellect, that he can think about things. We get that. That the physical body is Kaddish, it's beautiful, it has Yaifi. They put it on a pedestal, but not a pedestal of Kedusha. That it's something, it has a function greater than itself. The body's the body. Physical is physical. Yaakov Avinu goes back for a path of time. You understand that the smallest item, the cheapest item, the most insignificant item is here for one purpose, to take it and make it a deeper purpose Hashem. So the source of the Pach Shemen. The source of the Pach Shemen that we should find that Shemen is very physical. No, it's not. It's Kedusha. It's Or. It's something greater than itself. The source of the Pach Shemen is the Pach Shemen. Yaakov Avinu's Pach Shemen. That's what I think Shabbat makes us students. So how do we turn our physical into Avodas Hashem? So there's different ways of doing this. One mushroom. So I got a talk many years back when I South Suburban in the yeshiva. I supply the hot cups. They have this Costco 12-ounce hot cups. They're very hot cups. You use them. I buy the hot cups, and the Bible uses it. One day I walk into the office, there's one hot cup left, and I really like my cup of tea. I'm addicted to tea. Okay, there's only one hot cup left, and I have a Kollel. I don't use styrofoam, so it's either this is or I'm done. So look at this hot cup, and I'm saying to myself, okay, I have two choices. This hot cup can be my tea this morning, or I can leave it to somebody else, and I'll have a hot cup in Shemayim. This is now a kli for testing. I gave it to somebody else. I have choice between using it here in this world, or giving it to somebody else, and then I get it in Shemayim. So that day I passed it, so I left it to somebody else. I'm not saying it always worked like that, but that day I passed it. That's one way. And we understand that we can use these things for something greater. But I want to say a different way as well. The Rabbi tells the Shiva a lot of years, 1974 to 1997. It's there for 23 years, overlapped with a lot of people. There was a Baruch that came from Sydney, Australia. Came from Sydney, Australia, tells the Shiva. His parents, the older generation will understand this better. His parents were Holocaust survivors. Both of his parents were buried before the war. They lost a mishpacha in the war. They lost their spouse and they lost children in the war. They had made it through the war all by themselves. They met after the war. They got married. They had one child. So this is Holocaust survivors who lost a mishpacha, and they have a ben Yachid, and they're living in Sydney, Australia. So in the 70s, they take their son and they send them to Telz Yeshiva. They couldn't afford to bring him home. He did not go home for 4 years. He didn't see his mother. His mother didn't see him. Now those are the days when a long distance phone call to Australia cost, depending on what service you use, between $6 to $9 a minute. A minute. And those days, $6 to $9 meant a lot more than it means nowadays. He spoke home on the phone twice a year, before Pesach and before Rosh Hashanah. The rest of the year, he wrote letters. Every week he wrote a letter to home. His mother, parents wrote letters to him. They exchanged letters, and that's how he kept contact with his family. After 4 years, he went home. And I remember picturing myself. I'm sorry, I get emotional. I remember picturing myself. The mother's anticipation. She hasn't seen it. It's a Holocaust survivor, a Ben Yachid. She hasn't seen her for 40 years. I'm a Yiddish mom. The Akurim of the mother of that child. So what's she going to do? She's Yiddish mom. So she makes him Surah Shlom B'Shaita. Better than Surah Shlom B'Shaita, right? Anything which she ever thought of him, one time he mentioned that he liked, she made for him. And he sits down, he gets home, and he hugs and kisses, and sits down to supper, and she puts down in front of him cold tush, his favorite everything. And he sits down and he eats that piece of steak. What's he eating? He's not eating steak, he's eating 4 years of his mother's love. That's what he's eating. That's how you eat an apple, person. You're not eating an apple. You're eating the Kodesh Baruch Hu's love. He cares for mankind. He cares for clients. He cares for you. He provides for you. He gives you food. He gives you delicious, luscious food because he loves you. He's giving you, and you eat that apple, and you enjoy the flavor, and you feel Kodesh Baruch Hu's love. That's how you make this world into a Baruch Hashem. My wife had a aura 1 year, which is, we're still in Cleveland. So they took the girls to one of the local JCC to have a Chanukah event. And they went very early. They stayed overnight in the facility there. There's a facility. In the morning, she walked by the gym. 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, she was up, keeping an eye on the girls and everyone. She walked by the gym. And she sees people working out. She goes out and says, I think the Yavanim won. I think the Yavanim won. This is a world of Yiddishkeit. They're so focused just on the goof. Avana, you have to focus on the goof. But what does that mean, you focus on the goof? You appreciate the gift of the goof. This night, you should take 4 minutes to say Asher Yatzah. The goodness, the kliyah, the chesed, the love. Rosh made a beautiful goof that we have. How perfect it is. It's not like there's a fruma, it's not a fruma, I get kavanah. What is kavanah? Kavanah means that your thought is focused on something. He was expressing the chesed and the charsatayim to his world. The years I was in advance with my father, in 1986. So I tended to daven more slowly. And daven for the Yom Kippur Yeshiva, which was pretty slow now, but it was still a bit faster for me. And it's very difficult. I found it very difficult. So summertime I was backwards in Monsey. I asked for Martha Schwab, Sheikh Roch, Tzaddik of Monsey. I asked her how to do this, how to work on it. She said to me, say brachas. Don't say brachas for the Yom, say brachas by yourself. It take a long time. Just think about the brachas. And think about the chesed the Rosh was giving to you. And get into the zone, as he said it. We didn't say the word zone, but we would say it in our stuff. Get into the mood, get into the connection. Connect to Kodesh Baruch Hu, feel that chesed. And then from there you'll go more quickly, but you're connected, it'll be fine, it'll work out. That was the answer that he gave me. We are a world where Yiddishkeit is, this is Chanukah Masibah. So it's a shalom halacha whether food is part of a Chanukah Masibah or not. So you say the returns of Kaddish. Purim, for sure, is physical. Shabbos, and Shabbos, Yom Tov. Yom Kippur is a Kiddush, right? The Bible says in the joke, he says, we won, they lost, let's eat. Like that's the definition of a Jewish holiday, right? That's what Jews do. It's not bad. It's we recognize that the Rosh made us physical for a reason, because he wants the physical to be part of our Hashem. We're davening, we're pining for Beis Hamikdash. We're pining for that kedusha of Beis Hamikdash where we see clearly. You walk into Beis Hamikdash and you see physical, and you know the physical, all it is just a vehicle of Hashem. It's keli for something much bigger than itself. We appreciate that we have. Russian gave it, made it part of us. So when we give it away, it's a chesed. It's part of who we are, because we are physical. But when we give that away, I'm giving part of my being to somebody. That money is my money, I'm giving it to somebody. I'm giving over my being to somebody. I care about somebody else. I made that into something more extraordinary. Well, the Goin says, they said the one Goin before he was nifter. He cried. And they asked him, why is he crying? He says, I'm living in a world that for a few coins, you can go and buy a pair of tzitzis. Which is, the culture of Kollel. It's compared to the Tiger incense. So for a few coins, you can be in the kind of something which is called Kollel. But I think what the Goin is saying, or at least what I'm hearing in the Goin's words, we're living in a beautiful world, extraordinary chesed, Rosh. So you can take something physical and make it eternal. Can you imagine that? Something which is physical, that's finite, that's limited, and it's nothing, it's just money. $1. You could take that dollar and make it into something which is eternal and extraordinary. That's the chesed that Kodesh Baruch Hu gave us in this beautiful world that He gave us. Thank you for listening to relationships. This is Chanukah, Trail of Chanukah, the Mokum Shnai, it should be a source of tremendous knowledge against players of Yeshua.
Amen.